Hey folks, horror and sci-fi author William Burke here, offering advice for authors creating covers or promotional materials using freelance services. I use Fiverr as an example a lot because that's the one I have the most experience with, but there are other services. I don't get any money or freebies from Fiverr. This is all advice from the trenches because I've made mistakes that you can learn from. You should never get boxing tips from someone who hasn't had their nose broken. Those wonderful folks at Severed Press have conventionally published my novels, but I still do a lot of my own promotional work. So this information is pertinent to indie self-published authors and folks like me. So here we go. If you're creating digital artwork, whether it's a book cover or banners, and you should get banners made, here are my tips. Shop hard. There are hundreds of digital art vendors prowling around on Fiverr. Many are very good and many, well, suck. Comb the reviews. If someone has very few reviews, you should probably keep looking. Check those reviews for buzzwords like late or difficult to communicate with. And I'm going to touch on difficult to communicate with in a minute, so let's put a pin in that. Have a solid visual idea going in and collect samples. Go through Pinterest or just Google search for images that relate to what you want, whether it's visual composition, color selections, fonts, etc. I recommend book covers, film posters, and advertising. Collect those because you'll need them later. Fonts are crucial. Clean and easy to read is the way to go. Search fonts, then test out your text to ensure it will look clean. Banner images are small, so clarity is crucial. The classics like Helvetica and Futura are always a safe bet. If you look at Fiverr and other such services, you'll see varying gig prices like basic, gold, diamond, or whatever jazzy term they use. However, I prefer to ignore those and contact the vendor to get a custom bid. Carefully lay out what you require and add this important note. Include project files. Project files are often Photoshop or Illustrator files. Include that in your bid request and mention it again in writing when you accept the bid. You must get those files, if only for archival purposes. So why am I stressing this to the point of tedium? Well, it's not because vendors are unscrupulous, though a small percentage are. It's because people disappear from freelance gig sites, meaning you'll be stuck with just the flat art that you can't edit, remove text from, or resize. And I'm going to give you a tragic example that proves even smart guys like me can be stupid. I'm even going to cue up some sad music in the background. On Doomsday Planet, I handled creating the cover because it's kind of a niche book that's outside of Severed Press's usual wheelhouse. The artist did a great job. It has a retro, pulpy feel that's exactly what I wanted. I was delighted. I sent it off to Severed Press for approval, assuming I could re-engage the artist a week later to get the back cover wrap and mechanicals done. Lo and behold, when I went back mere days later, my artist was gone from Fiverr. I don't even know her name, just her useless Fiverr moniker. If she's seeing this, which I doubt, contact me because you're awesome and I want to use you again. I was stuck having to do the back cover and wraparound using only the unlayered artwork. The first guy I booked was a total incompetent who wasted my time. I was forced to get a second person who was fine. It was a waste of time and money, and I went through a lot of pain. But now you don't have to. If someone claims only I can open my AI files, that isn't true. Even if the artist creates the primary image in Midjourney or Stable Diffusion, they still ingest that image into Photoshop or similar software to add the text layers. You want that file. You might say, well, I don't have Photoshop or Illustrator, so I can't even open those files. That doesn't matter, because other artists down the line can. Also, cheap software like GIMP can open Photoshop files and display the layers. So with only a few hours of learning, you can edit the text or resize it yourself. GIMP is similar to Photoshop with some extra steps and a lot more swearing. It's fine and good to have in your arsenal. If you're doing a banner, you want delivery of the project files, a giant fat humongous TIFF of the artwork, a PNG, and a JPEG. Get versions that are texted, meaning your text is included, whether that's review quotes or your blurb. Also get a textless version of each, which means only visuals. That way you can easily slap on new text if, out of the blue, Stephen King declares your novel the greatest book ever written. You'll want to paste that in. If you're going to use YouTube for promotion, you should create an eye-catching 16:9 thumbnail. It's all about catching those eyes and getting them to watch. If you're going to promote using TikTok or YouTube Shorts, you're going to need a 9:16 thumbnail. Fortunately, most ebook covers crop just fine for this. If your promotional plan includes online advertising, get the dimensions in advance and have the artwork created as part of your initial package. This is important because many websites have very odd ad dimensions. Fun side note, when I did my banners on Doomsday Planet, I also got high-resolution TIFF files of the book's characters. I was able to use those TIFF images in the video trailer, so they were doubly useful. If you're really ambitious, you can ingest those TIFF images into AI and create alternate poses or even video clips of your characters. If you're creating a book cover, you need to add a high-resolution PDF file of the paperback version and the ebook version. They are different. The paperback files are CMYK color, while ebooks are RGB. It's a big deal. If it's going on paper, it's probably CMYK. If it's to view on a device screen, it's RGB. Get a texted and textless version. Also, you want to get your 3D covers. These are versions that look like a physical book. These should be a PNG file with a transparent background so you can paste them into banners or ads. These are really simple template cookie cutter files, so they shouldn't be much of an additional cost. If it's banners, get them in Facebook dimensions, LinkedIn dimensions, whatever the header size of your own website is, and maybe get a square ad created because you never know when you'll need it. Get the square ad delivered in RGB and CMYK because print advertising is not dead. Make sure you have revisions guaranteed in your custom gig. Trust me, you're gonna need them. If you're doing a book cover, make sure the artist has the correct mechanical specifications, otherwise you're screwed. Do not assume the artist has the correct ones, even if they say they do. Establishing that paper trail is important. A minor error in cover formatting means you take one step forward and 2 steps back, which sucks. Okay, I promised to touch on difficult to communicate with, which is a vital factor you're going to have to contend with. But first, just to prove there's no free lunch in this world, here's the 1-minute trailer for my latest novel, Doomsday Planet. And get your finger off the scroll button. I can see you.
The world's richest man has just made a killer deal with aliens. He sold them the human race. Now, our new owners are coming to take possession, and no living thing can stop them. The only hope for Earth's future comes from its past. 3 long-dead heroes who now live again. Together, they'll make mankind's last stand on a prehistoric world known as The Doomsday Planet. Critics are calling Doomsday Planet a deliriously imaginative sci-fi action thriller. Strange, heartfelt, funny, and just a little insane. Part military thriller, part time travel epic, and all-out action. Doomsday Planet, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Well, I hope that was painless. I edited that trailer, and I'll be doing a video about book trailers sometime down the line. Now back to the whole difficult to communicate with thing. When you look at Fiverr or any of the other freelance gig sites, you'll see the vendor's country of origin and languages spoken listed. And this is going to represent a problem that's peculiar to the visual arts. When you have a vendor that's in Sri Lanka or Korea that says they speak English, they probably don't. Or they have just a very rudimentary knowledge. In reality, they're using Google Translate or, God forbid, some other AI-based translation system. And all of that software is terrible. Homonyms, gendered address, and figurative language are just a few of the things it will mutilate. Complex sentences can be disastrous, and don't even think about using a semicolon. Exclamation points can translate as insults or threats, which won't endear you to anyone. You must simplify your descriptions to a second grade level, because in terms of knowledge and stability, AI translation is essentially a toddler. And it's that scary kid in your second grade class that would eat flies for a quarter. Sometimes you can tell right off. I think this is supposed to be message first, but a massage is always nice. That particular artist did a great job for me, proving that just because someone can't speak English very well doesn't mean they're not a competent graphic artist. But to obtain the results you want, you need to compensate on your end. So here's the secret to success. Back up those simple communications with visuals. On Doomsday Planet, I use Swift Publisher to create low-rent color forms versions of the visuals. For the retro artwork style, I pulled old paperback book and men's adventure magazine covers. Legendary artists like Mort Kunstler and Gil Cohen were the main influence. These images, along with a bit of basic explanatory text, got the point across. Remember, you're not just conveying the image, you're conveying the attitude. In my case, that attitude was kinetic energy. I wanted a robot riding a dinosaur with laser cannon strapped to it because that's in my book, and I think it should be in all books. But to help explain that concept, I attached a sample page using old art of war elephants, along with dinosaur art that appealed to me. The combination worked. For the characters, I scoured the web, pulling images that communicated the look of the characters. You'll notice that I even pulled stock art of science fiction weapons. That's because the words sci-fi weapons could be construed as Star Trek phasers, Flash Gordon ray guns, or the plasma rifles from Aliens. During my research, I found a lot of weapons on TurboSquid, which is a site video game artists and graphics creators use for 3D models. Since many artists subscribe to this service, they were able to use those weapons, saving time. Call it a win-win. I keep a library of action poses, so I was able to pull material that communicated my idea visually, narrowing the margin for error. Visual files are critically important, so collect them. As a bonus, preparing these forced me to critique my own ideas and reconsider the visuals I wanted. I discarded or rethought many of my ideas during this period. Self-editing is a good thing. So if you want to be creative with freelancers who likely speak very little English, you have to do some of the heavy lifting beforehand. You'll get back what you put in. I hope you found at least one helpful tip in all this. If you've had interesting or frustrating experiences creating artwork or promo materials, please share them in the comments. Feel free to like and subscribe, even though I don't do many videos, but I do like helping out other writers. I wish you all good luck in your writing, and I hope maybe something in this video saves you some frustration. Oh, and buy a copy of Doomsday Planet. It's a rocking science fiction adventure that also lambastes greedy billionaires seeking wealth and power at our expense. You know who I'm talking about. Now go write something great. Bye.